Hi, my name is Lisa Hickey, and this is my research project, Semester 1 for the University of West Florida, Management Capacity in the Cloud. The discussion topics being presented are the background of the problem, the project overview, the business objectives, requirements, design, risks, next steps for next semester. Computer Science Corporation, or CSC, for whom I work, operate a large data center for the Department of Homeland Security, who has been increasing their footprint in the cloud. The explosive nature of migrations from physical to virtual leaves CSC needing to find a better way to manage this capacity. The purpose of this project is to identify and implement best solutions for managing capacity in a cloud environment, and to obtain documentation that will assist in obtaining a software product, commercial off-the-shelf, or COTS, to assist in the cloud management capacity. The project will also identify best practices and lay out a roadmap to achieve cloud capacity optimization. The business objectives are to identify the best practices, to determine a COTS package that will deliver the necessary requirements and implement that software package after procurement, to assess the current environment through the software package, clean up where they need to, and balance the current capacity load on the environment, to optimize the current load on the environment per the requirements, and determine the impacts to any additional departments. Although this is out of scope for this project, it is of vital importance and an output of this project and of any reports coming from the commercial off-the-shelf software package to identify any impacts to such departments as networking. To train and cross-train resources for minimal delay in utilizing the COTS package, achieving the most benefit from the investment. And lastly, to predict future needs and that impact on other departments through the data center. Requirements. Although there were many requirements, some nice to have, some they would like to have, these are the priority 1 requirements. They are the need to have. It must be on a DHS approved software list. If it is not, it must be submitted for approval and added to the list. It must be highly scalable. It must analyze all aspects of the virtual machine's capacity. It must be operational 24/7, 365. And by this, we're implying that any upgrades, updates, fixes, hot fixes need to be done with a minimal impact to the software. It must be able to auto-detect and perform continuous auto-discovery so that they have the most recent data. Must interface with all host virtual machine management applications and tools, as there are different ones that are being run on the different hosts. Must have a single point of contact to manage consistently. That implies having a capacity manager who is able to do this on a full-time basis and therefore consistently reviewing results and assessing the situation. Must have adequate training, and they must provide cross-training. Design. The data flow diagram was based on the following software process flow. After the software is loaded and configured for the various items, including the polling time, alerts, and auto-discovery, the agents of the software are loaded on all the hosts, and the various interfaces are engaged with the host management software, meaning the different management tools that are on the hosts, VMware, vCenter, Hyper-V, KVM, and others. All of this is going to interface with the agents from the software and feed the information from the hosts back to the software regarding all aspects of the individual VM as well as the overall host for a roll-up. The capacity management software is then going to take all the information and provide reports on the overall picture by host, by the components, and by VM. By the components, I mean the different and various components of the Department of Homeland Security, so that we can ascertain if a specific component is in high utilization and may perhaps need to expand their footprint. From there, it'll decompose all the way down to the individual VM attributes, CPU, memory, and storage. This is important so that we can not only manage the capacity of the overall host, but we can manage the capacity of the CPU or the memory or storage or anything else that is necessary or could possibly be a bottleneck. Continued design. The capacity manager will then review the reports to determine any additional cleanup or balancing based on company policy. The capacity manager will implement the balancing through the capacity management software on the host management system and implement cleanup through the same process. The capacity manager will then provide the reports to management with the results and recommendations regarding the current state of the cloud and possible needed maintenance to work towards capacity optimization, as well as possible business opportunities for particular components you may need to expand. Risks. There are several risks, 6 of them in total. Some are accepted, some are mitigated. If a COTS package isn't adequate to suit the needs of the deployment of a solution, it will take longer to build out a new program. This one has been accepted as it will not be a need. It has been decided that a commercial off-the-shelf program should be adequate at this time from the current research. The second one, if a capacity manager is needed and one cannot be located internally, then it will take an additional 2 to 4 months to obtain the necessary clearance to allow that person to work at the facility. Again, the optimal solution here is to find someone who is already working in the cloud and get that engineer promoted to a capacity manager. The third, if a solution is not implemented within a year, there may not be adequate space to support the current needs. This is a true risk and one that is very high and needs to be addressed immediately. 4, if a solution isn't implemented in the near future and additional space is required, it'll take an additional 2 to 4 months for procurement and change management process prior to being available. Unfortunately, one of the items at the facility that is unique to the government environment is the red tape. And with that, you not only have delays in procurement to obtain these particular posts, or another blade, if you will, but you will also need to take into account the change management process, which can sometimes be quite extensive and last several weeks. If adequate training is not provided, then the effectiveness of the tool or the COTS program will be greatly reduced. Again, this may seem like a very simple idea, but quite honestly, it is a linchpin. If you're not adequately trained and you cannot adequately operate the tool, then the data that is being presented to you, you may not be able to interpret properly. You may not be able to run reports and request the necessary data. You may be only looking at a partial solution, a partial problem, and that is not good enough. Training, therefore, is a vital part of this project. If cross-training, train the trainer, does not take place, then any and all domain knowledge of the program will be lost, decreasing the effectiveness of that program. One of the items that is, again, seems simple to cross-train is very, very important, as sometimes there is high turnover, and you don't want that domain knowledge walking out the door. Next steps. What can we do to bring the cloud capacity management problem currently to cloud capacity optimization? Now that the problem requirements, the risks, process flow, project management plan, design have all been documented, the next steps are going to be integrating the best practices into phases that will transform the current cloud capacity into an optimized cloud capacity management. It will take it from an unmanaged current state to a managed state, and then an optimized state. These are the steps for next semester that we wish to take in order to provide a long-term roadmap. Items that will be accomplished in next semester will be analysis and evaluation of the current state, recommendation plan to obtain the overall desired result, future planning and predictive analysis of possible scenarios, and taking into account the impact on the overall environment. The last two may seem like nice-to-haves, but they are really quite critical. If you cannot plan for the future adequately and predict how this will affect the entire environment, then there is a risk to the business overall. For example, perhaps you can see future planning and the need for additional blades, additional hosts for your capacity, and you balance that capacity, and all is right with the world. However, if you don't take into account what that extra load is going to put on your network, and you don't have any type of simulation or predictive software that is going to simulate that information and the addition of the new hosts and how it affects the rest of the network, well, then quite frankly, the perception is going to be that the degradation in performance or the challenges with performance with the cloud and not with the network where it should be. Unfortunately, as we all know, perception is very huge when it comes to business, and that is something that needs to be addressed, needs to be identified, and needs to be dealt with. These are the items that we'll take into account for next semester, and we'll work towards finding a long-term roadmap to get CSC from where they are now to where they want to be. Thank you.